specific prediction, but based on the reports we're getting, it can't become too much more dramatic before even the stodgy old U.S. government has to start admitting that we're dealing with a real phenomenon.
Yes, exactly, Peter. A matter of fact, I always like to say that, it's just almost as if that first domino, if it falls, it's going to knock a whole lot of other ones over right away. So I'm looking forward to that. It seems like it's quavering right now, and maybe this is going to happen here at the beginning of the year.
Yep, I agree. We're like-minded on that point, and thank you again for the invitation to appear, and I wish you and the I-Team, UFO I-Team, and all our guests tonight, all our listeners, a very happy New Year. I hope it's a quiet one. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, there you go. Well, Happy New Year to you, Peter. Thank you again.
You bet. Bye.
Goodbye now. Goodbye. Wow. Well, that was a nice report. We have got multiple sightings of things that are happening just around Christmas time here. Orange fireballs, pink object dropping out of the sky, and Sanger, Texas, pumpkin seed kind of a triangle craft in Saugus, Maine. Orange spheres flying across the sky, and then, of course, up in Canada as well. Valhalla Mountains, lots of stuff going on here. So we'll keep you abreast on what's going on after the first of the year. And I don't think it's going to slow down, so we'll see. Listen, we've got our next report coming in here from Vince Inzunza from Northwest Pacific North Weird out there. And I'm hoping Vince is on the line. And we'll jump into some of the retrospects that we've got here on the Weird and Wonderful. Are you there, Vince?
Hey, Michael, I'm right here.
Fantastic, buddy. How are you doing here? Did you survive the holiday okay so far?
I'm pretty sure I survived. If I didn't, I'm speaking to you from the great hereafter, which is a great moment for your show.
And I wouldn't put that past you. You would be the first ghost guest that I would ever have on my show, and you would be the one that could do it. But I'm glad you're still with us on this side of the veil. And let's throw things open for yourself, Vince, and tell the folks what kind of reports you might have. And then we might do a little retrospective as far as Pacific North Weird goes as well. So the show is yours. Go for it, buddy.
Sure thing. So I've spent the majority of today in heavy research for a very special project that Pacific North Weird is playing a part in coming up in September of 2019. We are in talks in the planning stages of creating our very first UFO festival in the Chehalis, Washington area. We're going to call it the Chehalis Flying Saucer Party.
Oh, and you have got some retro graphics that I just love for your upcoming conference. That is going to be really fun out there.
Oh, yeah. I think the particular image you are talking about was done by Jason Matson, who is the director of the Lewis County Historic Museum. And he and I have partnered up to create this festival that honors the contributions that Kenneth Arnold gave to the UFO community back in 1947 when he took off from his little private plane from the Chehalis Airport and over the Mount Rainier area witnessed these 9 flying discs traveling at a very, very high speed. And it was from that report that the term flying saucer was created. So our goal with this festival is to put Chehalis and Lewis County, Washington, in its rightful place on the UFO history map. We feel that what happened with Kenneth Arnold and the various other weird UFO things that happened in the area in those subsequent years are really just as important as what happened in Roswell, for instance, or in Phoenix with the Phoenix Lights. Like, without Kenneth Arnold, without him flying out of Lewis County, without him seeing these discs while he was flying over Mineral, Washington, we would not have the term flying saucer. We would not have like this wonderful, wonderful plethora of flying saucer sci-fi movies and pop culture magazines and toys, and it literally changed the way we think about aerial phenomena and the way we think about visitors from a different planet.
Well, indeed, Vince. I mean, the whole idea of, I was just talking with Peter a second ago about the idea of the first domino falling and is like opening up a whole field of new sightings and things. Kenneth Arnold's report in 1947, June of 47, was the first thing. I mean, that kind of started the whole modern UFO era. And you're telling me that he flew out of Chehalis Airport in Lewis County to start that entire trek over to Mount Rainier. I think you're on the right track there to kind of get the whole thing in historic perspective about the entire state of Washington, let alone Lewis County down there where it all started.
Yeah, and Lewis County, I found through my research, is one of the weirdest places in the world. Like the various extraterrestrial encounters and UFO reports that we found that we've even started to film separate episodes on, such as the nudist from Venus or the crazy critter of Bald Mountain. Like all kinds of just very, very distinct, relatively unknown tales have come from this one area, and it needs to be celebrated. And from my perspective, from my vantage point, I am offering to this festival a deep knowledge and enthusiasm for this subject matter. So I'm kind of like the subject matter expert of this upcoming festival.
Yes, you are. I tell you what, I didn't realize, since I knew you were working on this interesting story about the nudists from Venus, and people might think that this is just a hoax or just a story. You might want to tell a little bit about that sighting report and the fact that it was a real sighting report coming from Lewis County.
Yeah, absolutely. So the nudist from Venus is a story referring to this claim made by a man named Samuel Eaton Thompson back in 1950, in between the small towns of Morton and Mineral, Washington. Little sideline, Mineral is where I grew up. It's kind of like where my earliest memories of life come from, Mineral, Washington in the early 80s. And what happened to Samuel is in 1950, he was traveling down the country road after visiting family, and he was on his way back to Centralia, where he lived. And he decided to pull his car over and have a relaxing moment in the woods. So he pulls over on the side of this logging road, and he gets out of the car and heads down the logging road and claims to have seen this flying saucer hovering in the trees. And this spaceship is surrounded by a bunch of naked people. And he kind of described them as like a Nordic almost, like if you can imagine ABBA but naked and by a flying saucer. Which I imagine that often. I don't know about you.
Yes, I think that would be easy to imagine. That's for sure. Oh man.
So basically, these alien beings invited him to their ship, and for the next 48 hours or so, they told him about the secrets of the universe, namely that they were from the planet Venus, and that they were traveling the galaxy to prepare the universe for the second coming of Christ, which is going to happen in 10,000 A.D.
Oh, my goodness.
And they brought up all kinds of weird stuff like a worship of astrology, and then the horoscope, and they were vegetarians, kind of eating something akin to the Mediterranean diet. Really fascinating story, and who knows if it's a hoax or not. What's interesting about the story to us is that it affected the culture. It wound up in the newspapers, and in 1950, this guy is talking about like nudists worshiping Jesus and astrology. That's way ahead of his time. Like Samuel Thompson could almost be like a precursor to Ramtha or J.Z. Knight or the Unarians, like kind of all these UFO cults and thought systems that have a New Age aesthetic to them. So we approach these stories in terms of their cultural impact. So to us, it doesn't matter if Samuel really saw these beings. What matters is that the story happened and that it affected something and it means something. And what we did was we got a whole bunch of naked people together outside of a makeshift flying saucer in the middle of the woods, and we filmed a whole bunch of sequences with them. And then I'm in the process of editing that at the moment, and it's going to be like a really bizarre, one-of-a-kind UFO video.
Oh, I'll bet. And I know you, true to form, you're going to make this to the T of what's been reported out there in these stories. So I really appreciate, Pacific North Weird, the videos that you come up with, and how factual and interesting they are. Where can people find these videos and go and review Pacific North Weird so that they can do that, at their leisure?
Oh, well, they can go to pacificnorthweird.com, and that links, will link you directly to our YouTube page, where we have over 4 years worth of videos that we've done. You can find us, if you have a Roku channel, you can subscribe to OSI 74. That stands for Outer Space International 74, and that's a wonderful channel of various strange internet shows that renowned horror host Mr. Lobo has directed and put together, and we're gracious to say that we've been included in that. We're alongside the official channel of the Church of the Subgenius, as well as a show hosted by a former member of GWAR.
GWAR, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank God that you were out there capturing all the weird and wonderful in one spot. I mean, that's exactly what Pacific North Weird is all about. And is there any kind of as you look back on 2018, any kind... Whoop. Sorry, we are actually getting a little replay here, so I'm going to turn that off and see if I can get rid. Can you hear me all right still, Vince?
I can hear you fine, but I can also hear some other voices.
Yeah. Okay, well, I am going to... What I want you to do, if we can, is just go and recap what you think is kind of some of the interesting, weird, and wonderful stories that you've come across this year.
Okay. And I've actually written down a list of them, which I have right in front of me. One of the major things that has happened this year with Pacific North Weird is that I wrote and directed my very first short film based on a Pacific North Weird urban legend called Bandage Man. And the film is called Bandage. It's a 5-minute short film, and it basically is about this Oregon coast monster ghost thing that people have been reporting to have seen over the past several decades, where they're on this stretch of Highway 101 in between Seaside and Cannon Beach, Oregon, and late at night they see this mutilated, bloody, bandaged mummy figure on the side of the road, and it will attack their car sometimes. It's been known to teleport in the back of their flatbed pickup trucks, and has even been known to eat dogs.
Whoa!
And this is just like a creepy, weird story, and you find it in several books about Oregon ghost stories and tales, and I've been captivated with it for a while. And earlier this year, I took a film class, and one of our final projects was to create our own short film. So I decided to